right, guys, welcome back. We are officially starting the CrossFit Life podcast back up again. So I'm excited. First podcast, my first one ever. This is Fern's 9 billionth. But welcome to the show. I feel like a while back when we did this, you're on the other end of the mic. So
I'm always on the other end of the mic.
How's it feel to be on the other side of this?
I like talking to people, man. It's easy, and particularly like talking about stuff that I like to talk about. So it's good.
Yeah, talking about stuff you like is definitely a lot more enjoyable. But yeah, so today we're just going to kind of dive into a little bit or a lot about you. Stuff some people may know, stuff people may not know. Just kind of your background with CrossFit as a whole. You've been around this for 50 years now, and
It's a good
from
job.
from an athlete, from a coach.
Caleb is feeling really secure in his job right now.
I am. We'll see if I still have it after this. But yeah, so going from that to you do a lot of things. Like you're a dad, you're a husband, you're a business owner. What else am I missing? I feel like there's a lot of sides to you.
I'm an average fitness goer.
You did beat me in a workout last week.
I did, but I mean the bar is pretty low, dude.
That's valid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to dive into that. Starting off, I just kind of want to hear outside of that, what is something that people may not know about you other than the fact that like you think we have not been to the moon before?
That's a good starting point. You know, well, when I'm bored, let's just say one day, if I'm just independently wealthy, I'm going to start a podcast called the Tinfoil Hat Cast, and we're just going to talk about conspiracies. So that's one thing I love a good conspiracy. The other thing people might not know about me is I love some 90s R&B. There's not a ton of 90s R&B songs that I can't sing, so that's my preferred playlist.
What's your favorite?
I mean, you can go any route. Like if you want to go Adina Howard, you could throw Boyz II Men in there. Like it literally doesn't matter to me. Like Mary J. Blige, I had a crush on her for a long time.
Is it bad that you just said 3 people that I do not know?
Well, you're only 5 years old, so I wouldn't expect you to know any of those because you weren't even born in the 90s, and I did say 90s R&B. So
That's valid.
no, I wouldn't expect you to know any of those. But yeah, I'm a music connoisseur. I do like a wide variety of music though. Like I like country, I like EDM, R&B, hardcore rap. If you wanted to get like really hardcore rap, there's some like old school hardcore rap that's like Dayton Family is like pretty hard. If you want to go Google some Dayton Family or YouTube some Dayton Family.
Okay.
But yeah, it drives my wife nuts. Just like I'm not good with silence.
Can't deal with your thoughts.
No, I like my thoughts.
Okay.
I just don't like silence.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, so I guess where did the CrossFit side of things, like where did that start from for you? I know, and obviously like if I say something or misspeak, just correct me. But you grew up in the South, down in Louisiana, big Tigers guy.
Big Tigers.
I'm kind of upset y'all just took our best receiver and taking everybody else.
Not quite as upset as the Ole Miss fans who took their coach.
That's fair.
So.
That's fair. Y'all didn't get Trinidad.
I know. Well, they're scrambling for a coach. They're scrambling for a QB right now.
Yeah.
They're just throwing money at people.
So grew up in Louisiana, and ended up going to the Naval Academy to play basketball. You're a hooper, which is it kind of blew my mind.
I don't believe in once a hooper, always a hooper. That is for sure a perishable skill.
So what did you play any other sports growing up?
I played everything growing up. I mean, I played football, basketball, baseball growing up, and then high school ran some track as well.
Would you run?
Like a brief stint in cross country my freshman year, just because I was trying to like have like better endurance than everybody else. 400-meter relay.
What was your best time?
50 flat.
It's pretty quick.
Had some wheels.
I think it's quick.
I had some wheels.
Sweet. So how did you end up at the Naval Academy? Were you like have offers from there? Do you have offers from other places, or what?
Yeah, I had offers from a lot of schools, and then I decided on the Naval Academy. You know, it's kind of weird. When the coaches, I talked to a couple of them. You know, they said, "Hey, why do you want to come here?" And I was very candid. I said because it seems like the hardest route.
Yeah.
For me, which is thinking back on that, that's kind of a weird answer, and a weird decision to make at the age of 18. but I did see it as the most challenging route, and I don't believe I was wrong in that endeavor. It was far more difficult than I could have probably wrapped my brain around at that point in my life, and yeah, and obviously had the opportunity to continue to play basketball, which I loved, and that had its own set of challenges that came along with it. But yeah, I could have played. I had offers from Wofford, Centenary, Davidson, LSU, Furman, probably like a half dozen other schools.
So you could have gone to Davidson and been the next Curry.
I know.
That's
I
crazy.
probably would have been riding the pine behind him though.
Would that have been the
Not
same time
probably,
frame?
for sure.
That would have been the same time frame?
Relatively close. I don't remember when he graduated. There would have been overlap for sure though.
I'd sit on the bench behind Curry, but
Yeah,
that's,
I mean,
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So going from that, and then obviously
I'm
you're
surprised
going
you know he went to Davidson
why?
because he's my age.
Yeah, but I still watch ball.
All right. Just saying, you don't know anything about '90s fucking R&B.
Yeah, but I got some ball knowledge up here.
Okay.
So if you go to the Naval Academy, this is actually something that I don't know. Are you like, you're pretty much required to go and serve after your 4 years are done, or how does that work?
Correct. Yeah, everybody there has a minimum of a 5-year obligation. That obligation could be extended depending on what your profession is
Okay.
following graduation. So, for instance, if you are a pilot, that 5-year obligation that clock does not start until you get winged and you finish flight school. So if you're delayed getting flight school started and then it takes you 2 years to finish flight school, that full obligation might end up being 8 years. But every year, everybody is at least obligated to 5.
And what did you do while you were in the Navy?
I was a supply corps officer, so I didn't really love that job. The interesting thing about that job is you get a very wide breadth of skills. So it's people, stuff, and money is really what supply corps does, right? It's supply chain logistics, it's acquisition, it's regular logistics, finance, budgeting, everything. And every command has a supply corps component to it. So I worked in the Spec Ops, Specs War community. I worked in aviation, and I worked surface on ships. So I got a really good breadth of experience across all of those different commands or different communities, which is not the norm. So a lot of time, the vast majority of people will go into a community and they'll stay in that community.
And it's very like specific, hyper focused on one thing.
Yeah, you either drive ships, you're a spec operator, you're an aviator, you're submariner, like whatever. But if you're kind of like it's called a restricted line, but you're some sort of support element of that. Like supply and intel are very similar, where like everybody has like those two components for the most part. You have a lot more opportunity to go work across multiple different specialties.
Yeah. So I think it's very interesting to hear you say like, hey, I just want to do the hardest route.
Mm-hmm.
And I know CrossFit gets a rap about like it being a cult and one thing or another, but one thing that I do feel like when it comes to CrossFitters as a whole, it's like they all have that little bit of a mindset of just like, I want to do the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or not necessarily that you want to do the hard thing, but you're not scared to shy away from the hard thing. And so how, I guess like going from your Navy career, that background in sports, how did that wind you up in the CrossFit realm, or how did you find CrossFit? What did that look like for you?
Well, I don't want to skip over this because I agree with your assessment on that. When I gave the opening keynote at Affiliate Con, which is an event that we run that's like just for CrossFitters and coaches and owners, and that was part of the kind of underlying thread of that keynote about what's interesting about CrossFitters. You don't have to have a military background. You don't have to be an athlete. There's a lot of misconceptions about that. But the one thing that kind of connects all CrossFitters is that they all made the same decision at some point, and they made the decision to do the hard thing. Because I don't care where you came from, CrossFit is difficult.
Yeah.
Everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has decisions. Most people are caught off guard when they start CrossFit with regard to the difficulty level. We've gotten a lot better at that over the years. Yeah. And even if you do have a really great intro, which I think is becoming more common, you still have to make a decision to come back the next day, and because CrossFit is hard, and I think that's why CrossFitters are so drawn to other CrossFitters, because even if you go to another country and you meet somebody, I know immediately, I'm like, oh, you like to do hard stuff? Well, we probably have a lot in common, and I think that's the underlying thread that really cements the community like globally. But my wife, Jess, she introduced me to CrossFit, so we had both moved here. We weren't married yet. She said, hey, I found this thing called CrossFit, and we went to CrossFit Virginia Beach, which is no longer open anymore. Yeah, so they shut down several years ago. But I think they were the second gym in this area. And I think now we are the oldest gym in this area. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 that were older than us that have since shut their doors. And we went in. Pat Sherwood was the owner at the time, him and his then girlfriend, Tommy Gill. And I went in there and didn't have a great workout, but never looked back. And I was just like, oh, because to me it felt very similar. I wasn't that far removed from college athletics.
Yeah.
So it felt like training like an athlete again.
Athlete and like a team.
Yeah. And so it felt very natural to me to go back in there. And just played volleyball and softball in college. So it was a very natural, introduction and integration for us, and then it just stuck.
Yeah, and so you started doing, what year was that?
That was 2007, like late 2007, I think.
Okay, and you obviously did CrossFit, trained for a while. I mean, not training, hasn't stopped, but like after that, you ended up being competitive in some aspect?
This is early in the competitive years, but yeah, this is when they did sectionals and regionals, and I qualified for regionals 2 or 3 years in a row. My last bout was 2012, and it was fun. I would have been 32 at that point, so I was still young enough to compete. But that game has changed dramatically. Even at my fittest, then I would not even be anywhere close to competing to what people do now. So, but it was fun. It was the right point for me at that time. But I'm way past the competitive, and I see training for what it is now, which is just a way to stay healthy and functional for a long time, which is the biggest misconception that most people have about CrossFit. It is that it's too intense. It is only as intense as you make it, and it should only be as intense as allows you to come back and train the next day. That's it. If I'm training so hard that I can't come back the next day, then I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's just from my short tenure in the CrossFit space and like the gyms that I've been around. Whenever I came here, that was one of the very, like, the biggest thing that I noticed the difference in is like y'all's mindset on training for the general population is very, very different than most gyms. I feel like most gyms, it's just like, hey, let's see how much we can get in an hour, how hard can we go. There's no real like direction or intent with it. And I think it just kind of really speaks to like, you're able to actually do this for the way that it was meant to be done, in the sense of like, this is for health, it's like your increased work capacity.
Right.
Across broad time domains around the course of your life, and it's like it doesn't have to be done right now. It's not.
Well, in our defense, we do now have the good fortune of hindsight. We were not always doing it that way.
Right.
We're going into year 18, and in 18 years of running the box, we've learned a lot. We've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and every business owner, every person that trains, like, you go through phases and all of that kind of stuff, but yes, we do look at it very differently than we did, probably even 10 years ago. And we treat it much more thoughtfully, and we look at training on a much longer time horizon. I'm a firm believer that I think you should be able to train 5 to 7 days a week, and that should be sustainable for a long period of time. Because if I'm not doing something sustainable, then it is by definition not going to be something I'm going to do for a long time, at which point I'm probably not going to get I'm not going to maximize the long-term benefits of that. I believe CrossFit, when done appropriately, should be able to be done for the rest of your life. I'm going on 20 years. Have I had some injuries along the way? Sure. I don't know that those are directly related to CrossFit. And I also don't know anybody that hasn't had any injuries in other areas of training.
Yeah,
You know,
if
so
you,
it's like minimal injuries have been, had on my end in training. Like one really, like a main one, and that was probably as a result of playing basketball for 20 years, not necessarily like doing CrossFit.
yeah.
So,
I do think it's interesting because I remember whenever I was in school, like kinesiology and stuff, we were just looking at studies and case studies and stuff, and just seeing the amount of like injuries that just happen in sport, and it's like it's kind of part of it.
running is
Probably the worst.
Well, to be fair to running, right? Like more people run than anything else.
Yeah.
So to have like higher injury is a gross number. But even in running, when you look at injury rates per training hour, running is really, really high. But again, like that doesn't mean that running is bad and you shouldn't run. Like it's a requirement to be a human being that you should run. But everything should be done, as intelligently as we can. Like one of the things that I've learned over the years is you can become a pretty efficient runner by not running at crazy volume if you train correctly. CrossFit's a great base to do basically anything else you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want to be a great runner, CrossFit's a great base. If you want to do mountain biking, CrossFit's a great base. If you want to be a baseball player, CrossFit is a great base. You just need to treat it for what it is. Like CrossFit is not the point. And that's where I think we all got it wrong for a long time, is we started making CrossFit the
main
point,
thing, yeah.
the main thing, instead of using CrossFit as a lever to do the other things, whether you like to hunt or whether you like to run or whether you like to swim or whatever. Like use it as a propellant to go do the other thing. And for me personally, I think that's going to be a big focus for what we do this year, is really pushing people to do other things, whether it's high rocks or 5Ks or like whatever. But the point is to get out of the gym. I mean, it's the closing statement in World Class Fitness in 100 words is, learn and regularly play new sports.
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten away from that over the years. And sports are fun. Like I played pickleball for the first time when was that? In October.
Were you nice?
I wasn't terrible. I didn't know the rules, but the point was just like I could get into pickleball. Like pickleball would be fun. It's not crazy athletic. Like I think the cool thing about pickleball is like pretty much anybody can play pickleball. Right? It doesn't require an immense amount of movement. Could it get a little aggressive? Sure.
It has to. It's
right.
Sports.
But yeah, that's the point. I think we've lost sight of that over the years. Like the point of CrossFit is to go do other things, and if you make CrossFit the point, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Is pickleball something you're going to start regularly doing, or do you have like a
No, I don't-
sport or
I don't have-
another adventure
no, I don't have
outside
time
of
for
training
that.
every day for the year that you're trying to go after?
My one goal for this year is no days off, and that's just because, number one, I'm trying to lead by example, but I just, gotten a little loose on training over the years because I've been training for so long. I mean, I've been training regularly for at least 30 years. I mean, I started in the weight room before I was in high school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been training for a very, very long time, and had the very good fortune of training under people that were like either world class or very good at what they did at a very early age. So,
Yeah. So I think like going from your training aspect, obviously you stepped into the coaching realm, the gym ownership realm, and you also, with Best Hour, you help develop and lead other coaches, other affiliates. And I think that's something that a lot of our community just doesn't even know about. And I think it's so
I was
funny.
telling somebody this the other day. I don't think most people even know what I do.
Most people probably don't even know that you have ever coached a CrossFit class in your life.
I was it your class the other day in the GHD?
What about it?
No,
Yeah,
I think it was Jared's. Was it? No, it was yours. I was like, there was.
Oh, you hopped in to help somebody.
Who was on
Megan.
the GHD?
I think it was Megan.
No, it was a guy. Who was it? Doesn't matter. You were running off doing something else, and I was. It was Megan, and then it was somebody else. I can't remember who it was. But I was like, oh, like extend your knee first, and then I realized that I don't coach, and I realized that like I hadn't really interacted with this guy before, and when I was done, I was like, oh, by the way, I'm a coach here. I'm like a random dude just like talking to you in the class, and like everybody was laughing because like a lot of people knew that, but like I can't remember his name, but yeah, I mean, I haven't coached on the floor in a couple of years, and I do miss coaching, but I've got other priorities now, and we have a great team here. I'm not needed there. I'll probably do some guest coaching this year just for fun, but yeah, I don't think most people here know what I do.
Yeah,
which
and
is fine.
so
I don't care.
I do think it's fine, but also do think it is like kind of important for people to kind of realize like what they have in the sense of like obviously like they don't really care, like they show up to have a good time, they
Right.
show up to work out, but like as somebody who's a part of the team, like I appreciate having somebody who has been around for so long, and not just been around, but like you've had trial, you've had error through everything, and being with, how long have you been on seminar staff?
13 years, yeah.
Okay, and so like you're doing seminar staff, you're doing best hour and all of that, and it's like because you've seen so much, you're able to kind of shape the gym pretty much exactly how you think it should be. And so I think
Not quite, we're getting there, but it's a fun project for me. Business is my new sport.
okay.
Yeah.
So with that, I think we have these like core values at our gym, and I'm not going to run through all of them, but I do want to kind of talk about like the mission statement of the gym, and it being like that the coach is the single most important part in an athlete's success, or
Yep.
whatever, however you want to say it, like
Yep.
in the gym. After seeing everything that you've seen over your years in the CrossFit space, like what does that exactly mean to you, and how did you kind of come up with that conclusion for that to be your statement?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So the overarching kind of like vision, or like our kind of like mission, it's not our mission statement, but there's why am I blanking on the verbiage right now? But it's our like core statement, and it's just like we believe that the coach is the single most important variable in an athlete's success. And the way I landed on that, it took me a long time to back into why that was the case. And because we've had really high level coaches here for a really long time. So, Lindsay's been here for 5 years, I think. Cassidy's been here for, I don't even know. And all three of us have been on seminar staff for just collectively between the three of us, we're pushing 30 years on seminar staff. So you're talking 700 plus seminars across tens of thousands of hours of coaching. Level 4s, we have level 3s here, you're level 3. But years and years and years ago, I came to understand that credentials and what we do on the weekends for seminar staff do not matter to the people that walk into our gym. Most of them don't know what it means, they don't care. And so I was very adamant early on about like, hey, we're never going to hang our hat on our credentials, because the person that's walking in the door doesn't know what a good coach is. They assume that you're good because we're here in this facility.
You have a job.
Yeah, you have a job, right? So, I would like to assume that the mechanic working my car like knows what a wrench is. But what they do understand is they do understand great customer service and being interacted with appropriately. So we've always tried to lean into that, because listen, we know CrossFit can be scary for people. We know it's a big decision for coming to the door. The best thing that we can do is be welcoming when somebody comes in the door. And immediately when people come in here, even if they are scared, virtually everybody that comes in realizes that their assumptions and perceptions about CrossFit were not correct. They're like, oh, I thought everybody here was going to be crazy about fitness. And yes, we like to train, but we don't take ourselves too seriously about that. And no, you don't have to do the workout exactly like that. As a matter of fact, you should not do it exactly like that, because it's not appropriate. So when I look at that, and when I think about like what is our role as the coach, our only role as the coach is to guide people appropriately. And when I think about my athletic career, my professional career, my training career as a CrossFit trainer, and the experience I've had with coaches, my success is 100% predicated on the people that coached me. Like, I did not achieve any of the things that I have achieved because I'm somebody that is unique.
Yeah.
I'm not. I was coachable in that sense, and I continue to try to be coachable, but coaches got me to where I'm at. And I view it the same thing here. Like, if people want something, we're there as the conduit to what they want to get. And if you go into great gyms, not by accident, are filled with great coaches. Like, you're not going to find a great gym that doesn't have great coaches. You're not going to find a great NFL team that doesn't have great coaches. Like, you're not going to find it. But the reason that I landed on that statement, which again is, we believe that the single most important variable in an athlete's success, because an athlete's success is the main purpose, is the coach. Just understanding, like, at the center of their success is us. It's not about us, but we're the linchpin for that. So we have to approach it that way every single day and understand, like, if that person's going to be successful, I have to do my job, which is I need to make sure that they get a good training session today. And more importantly, they got to want to come back tomorrow. And so that's how I kind of backed into that. It took me a long time to get to that point, but it started with this idea of, we're never going to hang our hat on credentials. We're never going to do that, because I just truly believe that that's predicated on the false assumption that the person walking in the door knows what good looks like, and they don't. And we have, endless examples of people that were here for years that had no idea what Cassidy and Lindsay and I did on the weekends, and they're like, no idea like what level 4 is in seminars. They literally didn't know and didn't care. And it's always a really good reminder for me that nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's like, what have you done for me lately? I don't care that you coach 300 seminars. Like, can you help me in this workout today? Like, that's probably what I'm more interested in. And I always like to come back to that.
I love that. And I think it really just kind of, it keeps us humble too, in the sense of just like, yes, it's our job to coach. And it's like, yes, we do agree that whatever we do, whether it be the interaction that we had with them when they come in, the cue that I'm able to give them, or even just simply just like, people come in here and they have to deal with life. Like, they have to deal with garbage outside of life.
Stuff going on. They got kids. They got all sorts of
yeah. And so it's like, if from even simply like an emotional standpoint of like, somebody walks in the gym and I can tell that they're down. Like, if I'm able to kind of speak life to them a little bit, like, that's gonna change if they come back tomorrow. If they're like, Caleb was just trash it, like, he was just so rude or whatever. And it's like, I think it's just coming in with a mindset of like, it's not about us. It's not about our credential. It's not about whatever we do. It's all about the athlete.
A great coach is really has like a servant and a teacher mindset.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've always approached it. And you never know what people are going through on any given day. So never assume, and you'll just be better off that day. And like, you know this, like, but I tell the coaches, I'm like, you got to bring 100% for every class. And I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if your dog died. Like, I do care if your dog dies, but like,
I'm not coming in if my dog dies.
I wouldn't want you to, but the point is the point is, as a true professional, you're not going to know.
Right, 100%. Yeah, so I think, it's great. I love that. So with that being said, what is your vision for CrossFit Rife? Maybe over the next year, I know you kind of spoke a little bit about like, hey, we want to kind of push people outside of the gym a little bit more. What would you like to see maybe outside of that in the next year, or the next 5 years, the next decade? Like, what are some goals or aspirations or visions that you kind of want to see for the place?
Well, we can speak 2026 specifically, and for me, there's just a handful of things for 2026 that are my focus points for what I would like to do. And one of them is what we mentioned earlier, is really lean into getting people to identify something to train for. And I think that's really important. I think it's overlooked. And I was down at Mayhem recently, and this is a big thing that Rich has too. So Rich Froning, for anybody who's listening, if you don't know who he is, like, doesn't matter. But that's one of his big things. And I kind of realized, like, oh, that's kind of why I've not been training regularly either. Now, I can force myself to train, and that's fine. But it's a lot easier if I had something to train for. And I don't think it needs to be anything crazy. You don't need to go, do some crazy ikigai mission to go figure out like what you're going to do. But it's a 5K, train for a 5K. If it's a mud run, train for a mud run. If it's like there's quite a few ladies going to be doing a high rocks. Pretty soon. Pick something and train for something. The likelihood for success or creating a good habit jumps like 10x if you simply have a reason to show up to train every single day. It doesn't even matter if that training is directly related to what you're training for. Like if you're hunting, if you're going to do a big hunt, if you're going to do a marathon or whatever. But simply knowing, okay, that day is on the calendar and it's rapidly approaching, I'm going to show up and train. Even if I have a subpar training day, it doesn't matter. Come in and train. And I think that's really what I'd like to lean into and really lean into different ways to make that training a little bit more fun and engaging, and looking at, can we be a little bit more creative about running some shorter cycles as one-off
Okay.
spin-offs in the inside of training, like can we do 4 to 6 week, kind of like running
Like a 5K time
like a
trial or something.
5K, training program to lead into something, that, because there's a ton of 5Ks around here.
Oh, you're saying like if we have like, let's say we have, I'm not saying we're gonna all go run a half, like Shamrock. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's like
That's an
we
example.
know we have Shamrock coming up in March,
Yeah.
so we're gonna take 2 months beforehand.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be the build up. We'll have
Yep,
a taper, and then we'll all go do this.
and we'll all go do
Yeah,
it,
I love
and we'll
that.
go as a, as a team or whatever. Or if it's like, hey, we're gonna do a bodybuilding cycle because everybody likes a good pump and it's just fun. So really leaning in more
Yeah.
to that kind of stuff, that because again, I think everybody kind of needs a little bit of variety, and everybody has like, kind of like training cycles that they go in and out of, and I think it's just really leaning into that, but more importantly, like let's attach them to something that gives people something to train for, because when people have something to train for, they typically want to do it with other people, which makes it more fun, and then again, they're more likely to show up and train every single day, and ultimately the outcome of that is like a happier, healthier human being, which is the goal. So that's my main focus, and then secondarily is just getting out into the broader community, whether we do joint ventures with other businesses locally, but just creating more awareness around what we do and just the overall benefits of CrossFit, because I turned 45 last year, but just recently, and I'm clearly not getting any younger, but that doesn't mean that your overall health has to deteriorate.
Yeah.
Like, you can stay healthy and fit for a long time. You just got to make it a priority. And it doesn't need to be this crazy thing where you spend a ridiculous amount of time doing it. That's the beauty of CrossFit. That's why, that was what it made it such a fad, was it was just like
quick.
so potent, and it was quick, and it can still be that way.
Yeah.
But I think collectively as a community, we've kind of like moved the needle in the other direction, which is like, we should train 3 hours a day. And I'm like, no, there's a beauty in training 20 minutes and then moving on. And that's the beauty of CrossFit, is that you can get really fit. And all of the benefits that come with fitness, looking better naked and all that other kind of stuff, come along with it. You don't have to be crazy about it, nor do I think you should.
Yeah, unless you're like 0.1 of the 1%. You
Which
just
we're
have,
not.
like, we're not.
Yeah, which we're not.
Well.
And it's like, and I applaud anybody that does that. It's a tremendous amount of effort, and it's a lot of work, but the rest of us are just trying to avoid dad bod, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Well, hopefully I got him a few more years before that, but we'll see. But yeah, I love that, and I think the insight is just kind of appreciated, because like I said, I think a lot of people just kind of don't really know what you do outside of being in your office a lot of time, and then popping in 30 minutes late to a workout, and going
Listen,
from
I don't
there,
like
so.
popping in 30 minutes late to a workout, but it's either that or no
Or
workout.
don't, so show up. But yeah, so with all of that, and like all the different avenues that you do, whether it be you've coached or you've been an athlete, you train, seminar staff, going to school, like all this other stuff that you do, being a dad, being a husband, how I feel like you've done such a good job of like everything that you've done, you've seemed to have found success. And I don't think that has happened by chance, and I would dare to say that you wouldn't say that either. So what would you speak into people in the sense of, there's had to have been a lot of failures, probably more than you would care to admit.
Yep.
So how would you speak to that first and foremost, but also too, I want to hear like your favorite story of like, maybe not necessarily like your biggest failure per se, because that just sounds brutal, but like, what is maybe a failure, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be in the gym, or it could be. What has that been, and then how have you been able to work through those things to kind of end up where you're at right now?
I mean, I've failed at everything. I failed at being a dad, being a husband, being a leader, being a business owner. I mean, the list of failures is significantly longer than the list of successes. So I'm glad you think it looks that way from the outside, because it doesn't feel that way. It's literally no different. So what to answer the question very directly, like whatever you deem as success, like how does that happen? It's just consistency, which is the same message I would tell somebody about fitness,
Yeah.
which is like, just show back up again tomorrow. You're going to have probably more bad days than good. If you're talking about training, I would argue you're going to have more days that you don't want to train than days that you do want to train. But the point is, train,
Yeah.
right? Have bad days. Have days where you just kind of mail it in, like whatever, because the difference between people that are successful and not successful are just the ones that just keep going. You just keep doing it. And in that process, you get a little bit smarter, you get a little bit tougher, you gain more experience over that time frame. And the reality is like a lot of people quit. So, it sounds ridiculous,
Just don't quit.
but just don't quit. Just keep showing up. And if you do that for a long enough period of time, you'll very quickly come to realize that you'll be standing in a room by yourself, whatever it was that you were chasing, just because most everybody else just quit.
Yeah.
I tell business owners all the time, I'm like, listen, let's not mince words about it. Like, part of being successful in business is just lasting longer than everybody else. You need to do a lot of other things right as well, but some of that is just open the doors tomorrow. And it's the same thing in fitness. If you want to get where you want to go, show up to train. You're tired, show up to train. Don't train like an idiot, but show up to train. So that's what I would tell you. Is just like, you just got to keep doing it. Everybody's heard it's like an overnight success that happened over 20 years. It's the same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, like, look at all the things you've done. I'm like, dude, this is the 15th version of this gym
Yeah.
that we've been through, and it's still got warts and stuff that I hate about it and all that other kind of stuff, and we're still going to revamp it and reimagine it and try to make it better. Yes, that's what I would tell you. Like, I think in today's world of Instagram nonsense and hustle porn, everybody only shows you the good stuff,
Right.
and nobody ever really shows you what it's like on the inside, which is like, most days are a grind. Like, most days I'm like, God, I'm sore, or I don't want to do this workout, or that bar feels way heavier than I would like
Yeah.
it to. And it's like, okay, cool. Just go lighter, but get the training day in. Biggest failures, tons. My basketball college career didn't go the way that I wanted it to for a lot of reasons. I spent a long time trying to make a transition from the supply corps into the SEAL community that never happened. It's probably 7 or 8 years ago, maybe more than that at this point. We almost created the business. I almost created the business by making a bunch of decisions that were just not great. I got way out over my skis and thought I knew more than I did, and paid the price dearly for that. Survived.
Yeah.
Showed back up, continued to problem solve, and continue that over and over again. And the upside of all of that is you have an incredible amount of context about lessons learned and why things work and why they don't work, and then just how to be resilient. I think I was listening to a podcast, I think this morning, and one of the speakers, I think he was a tech guy or something like that, but he's talking about, he's like, we have a resiliency crisis. And I was thinking about that. I said, yeah, we kind of do have a resiliency crisis. What I think is cool about that is CrossFit teaches resiliency.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I've ever done a CrossFit workout where that thought hasn't crept in.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, I would kind of rather do something else at this point. But you do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think there's some interesting science around how the brain adapts by continuing to do things that are hard that you don't want to do. And you don't have to do crazy stuff. I think the better way to do that is in like micro bouts every single day. Like, there's some part of that workout you're gonna be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to slow down. Don't. I want to come off the bar a little bit earlier. Don't. So that's what I would tell people. I'm like, just keep showing up and don't. I think there's a difference between being fair to yourself and kind of like being too nice to yourself. I don't think you should be too nice to yourself and be like, it's okay that you quit.
Right.
But I do think I think you should be more fair to yourself and be like, hey, all things considered, with a job and kids and whatever else you got going on in your life, you still showed up and trained today. Are we going to be okay that like we did a half-ass training session? No, but we checked the box, move on and go to tomorrow, and then try to do better tomorrow. And I think if you just approach every day like that, which is like, okay, did I do the thing? Yes or no? Great. Yes, I did. All right. Could I make it better tomorrow? All right, I'll try that. And I think keeping things really simple has always served me very well. And I always try to like reduce things down to being as simple as humanly possible, because that just try to put one foot instead in front of the other over and over and over. And if you do that over a long enough period of time, you cover a lot of distance.
Awesome. Well, thanks, brother. I appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah. If you guys are interested in the gym, come see us. We're not weird. Try CrossFit.
Well,
It's
we
fun.
might be
He's
weird.
weird.
We
I'm
might be a
not
little
weird. But yeah, no, CrossFit's fun, and you're gonna meet a ton of people, and you'll be better for it.
Yeah. This was, like we said, this is the first episode of many to come. Keeping up with the CrossFit Life podcast. So if you're new tapping in, just make sure you drop a like. It'll just kind of help us grow the feed and following a little bit. And we'll see you in the gym.
See ya.